Hello, Big Brother fans. This is episode 24 review of Big Brother 14. Yeah? Can you dig it? Looking just a little bit like Danielle. Alright, here we go. Poor Frank, he was worried about him and Jen being up on the block and the possibility of them winning, either one of them winning the POV and one of them coming down and Dan going up, because he's in a secret alliance with Dan and he can't have Dan being put up and being cut out. And meanwhile, Dan is doing his diary room entries by saying that he's in no way, shape, or form going to honor his final two deal with Frank, and he's trying to get Frank to throw the POV to Dan so that Dan can win it, take down Jen, and have Joe put up there, but Frank just get the alley-oop anyway. So it's just amazing that these people who claim that they're, these fans are continuing to let Dan stay in the house, and that he's playing the same game, basically. I mean, he claimed at the end that he's having to switch things up and not honoring any of his word, blah, 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 but pretty much, I mean, he's doing pretty much the same thing. Anyway, I did enjoy where Dan seemed to be getting seemed to get personal with Ian. He asked him, "Oh, can I ask you something?" And then he says, "You have OCD?" Because my brother-in-law has OCD and he doesn't like to take medicine for it. And Ian says, "Yeah, and I don't like to take medicine for it either." He says it's probably more like ADHD, and the way he talked about it was like he has not been in any way, shape, or form been seen by a mental health specialist to find out what is wrong with him. I find that very hard to believe. I find it very hard to believe that a parent did not see this kind of weird behavior and not have it taken care of. I refuse to believe it. He says that he says, "I like to move, that like there's something that's rattling around inside of me, and by rocking back and forth," he says, "it helps to stop the rattling on the inside." That's just mental. I'm just saying. I worked in a psychiatric hospital for about 8 years. That's mental, and he really seriously should consider. I mean, I know that medicine isn't always the answer for everything, but if it can help quiet the weirdness, and he says he's okay with it, so whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but really, is anybody really gonna want to hire someone like that in the long run? Or I don't know. Anyway, that's him. I won't worry too much more about it. Anyway, at the end, he did say that he was very thankful for Dan for being so caring and understanding. And the entire time I was thinking, yeah, right. That is part of his mist. He's putting it out there. He's bamboozling you. He's making you think that you're his best friend and he cares about you, and he might care. I'm not going to say that he's a very unfeeling, uncaring kind of guy, but this is his MO. This is why people voted for a unanimous decision at the end of his game that he win the $500,000, because he is a very, very likable guy. Next is the POV. Ian pulled Dan's name, Jen pulled Joe's name, and Frank pulled Danielle's name. So Frank was really happy because both Dan and Danielle, and then Frank and Jen, who are supposedly this Final Four alliance, were all playing together. So he's thinking, this is awesome. They're all of us. Then the chances of one of us winning this and helping bring one of us down and putting Joe up is a pretty good possibility. Anyway, Frank was kind of tending to agree, because he got misted by Dan, that it might work where if he throws the game to Dan, and that way Dan can use the veto to bring Jen down, and Joe gets put up. They agree later on in the show that it would be best for him to use it on Jen because it would make a lot more sense rather than him pulling down Frank, which is what they, what he really, really, really would want to have happen if, Dan wins the veto. Versus because it would expose, people would go, well, why? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to pull Frank down? Because, since Jen just used it on him last week, if he hadn't bamboozled them and misted them, then, Dan would most assuredly be sitting in the jury house. Which reminds me, we didn't get to see Jury House tonight. So, yeah, we didn't get to see it on Sunday either. Did I watch Sunday? Certainly I watched Sunday. Yeah, I did my review, didn't I? No Jury House. Anyway, at the very end of their talk, then, Frank said, "Don't vote me out, son." And Dan said, "I won't." So it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to work this out. We move on, and the veto is Otev, the absent-minded alien. He needed corn to fuel his ship to get back. And so what he's going to do is he was going to ask them some, cryptic question, and then they'd have to rush down through corn syrup and goo and whatnot, and under a barbed wire fence, and retrieve a corn on the cob, and it has a name of a past guest on there. And you have to bring it back, just like all the Otevs that have been done before. Bring it back, kneel before them, reveal your answer. If you have the right answer, then you get to stay. If not, and you didn't get a spot, you're out of the game. So, first out is Danielle, second out is Ian, third out is Joe, fourth out is Jen, and then it's down to Frank and Dan, and they whisper back and forth, and at that point Frank decides that he needs to win it, because he just does not like the idea that he's still going to be up there, and the chance of him not possibly being voted out against Joe, if Joe is the person that's going to be, put in Jen's place. So he decides to really go for it. Well, it comes down to the answer is, I believe it's Ashley, and he wasn't sure if it was Ashley or JoJo, so Dan, and so he says, whatever the first one is that I find of those two, I'm going to rush back up there and hope that that's what it is, and he was very lucky that it was. So Dan wins the golden power of veto. In his diary room, he reveals that he has a final two with Frank, Ian, and Danielle. So he's pretty much got all of his, he's got it all covered. All, throughout the whole, pretty much the whole house, except for, the people that he really kind of wants to get rid of. So Dan talks to Frank, and Frank suggests not exposing their alliance, and he really wants him to use it on Jen. Missed. I'm just saying. He says it's best to just say, since Jen used it, this is payback. So Ian goes and talks, Ian and Dan talk rather, up in the HOH, and he wanted to make doubly, triply, quadruply sure that Joe was going to be the one that was going to be put up into place. But, Ian already said, listen, I promised Shane and Danielle were safe, both from nominations and replacements, so there was no other choice but to put Joe up. So with that, he went back down, he talks to, first of all, he gets it twisted all up so that Ian is thinking he's the one that came up with the plan. Missed. The man is he's crazy good at this game. He's awesome is what he is. And, like I always say, in Survivor as well as this, it's just, you have to be cold-hearted. You have to stop the personal, and you have to, if that's the, if you are there to win the money, you cannot be honest, and you cannot, you know what I mean? It's sad, but it's true. So then Ian said that he would act mad because they didn't want to expose that this was the the real thing going on. Still knowing that they're going to vote Frank out, but they just don't want it to be as well known. So Dan goes, he uses it, he takes Jen down. He says, you saved me last time, this is payback. And Ian acts, kind of mad and says, Dan, you continue to stir the pot and play with fire, so I'm sorry, Joe, I have no other options. There's just a lack of options, so I need to put you up. And so now on the block is Joe versus Frank. So tomorrow night we're more than likely going to see Frank leave, but it's not over till it's over, because you don't know in this game. So we will see you tomorrow night. Bye.